Welcome to my week 6 video, and I'll be taking you through this week 6 scenario. We want to start off by scenario 1 and the description. So it says here, the owner of the bowling league, Carl, recently had a scare when a Chicago ice storm knocked the power out and the database server went down. Luckily, everything powered back on and came online. This was enough for him to ask you what could we have done if the server was corrupted and the data was no longer readable. What it wants us to do and show is to tell what recovery model you will choose and explain why. So the recovery model that I will be choosing is the full backup recovery mode. And the reason for this is because according to the scenario, we want to make sure that this doesn't happen or make sure there's no data loss. So according to this full backup recovery, it basically means that no work is lost due to a lost or damaged data file. So if anything happens, that the data will still be protected and stored correctly. Also, what I like about this is that it can be recovered to a specific point in time, assuming that your backups are complete up to that point in time for information about using log. Okay, so that just gives us more information. So it also states that if the tail of the log is damaged, changes since the most recent log backup must be redone. So basically, this basically does a full backup, and it includes a transaction log as well. So we'll go into more detail what the transaction log means. But for now, we will be moving on to number 2. It says, based on your recovery model you have chosen, what is your suggested implementation plan for the scenario? So what I've came up with is to use the full recovery mode between the times which will be midnight and midday, as well as in between. We'll do it at maybe 3 hours. After every 3 hours, we'll use the transaction log. So what I've done is, with the bowling lead example, I have done a few examples as to what I'll be doing or how I'll use it or implement it. So in this case, I'm using the Office Teams table, and we want to insert values into that Office Teams table. So I've already backed up this file. I've already backed up the database, but I'll just do it again. So we want to back it up. We will be using the full backup mode, and we want to remove and add this again. And then we want to just change the file name. Bowling League. Okay. And we want to back it up. So the first example that we have here is that we want to insert this into the table. So it's already inserted. And we're going to change this date here. So we already have that there, right? So we want to let's start here and get a new date and time. So I want to copy that and just add it here. So we know when this was backed, and then we're gonna do a transaction log backup. So we want to remove this and add a new one, which will be Pauline log dot trn. So I also want to give it a number 3. And then we'll script it. So we can see that that's backed up. So what I will be doing is I will be adding these values here. So I want to execute this. Let's see if it's let's first use this. And then let's run the table. So now we want to run this. And let us run that so we can get the time of it. And then same goes here. Let's run this. And then we want to get the date. Okay. So what I want to do here is I want to restore, or I'm going to save this now. I want to back this up as another log, transaction log. Okay, so that's backed up. So now what I want to do is I want to restore this back to this transaction log that we've stored here. So by doing that, we want to go back to task, restore, database. And in this case, we're going to use the timeline. Let's just move this here. So we're looking at this time, the timeline. And the timeline here is and then we'll go okay. So once this is restored, we want to open up this table again. to see if it worked. Okay, so it has stored this here. We don't want that. So I want to just add another value into the table. We'll put this as crackers, and we'll use the number 14 or 15 and 14. So we want to run this, and we can see it's added onto this table. So we want to store this up. But let's first get the date. Right? So we want to basically now we want to go back to having this restored from the beginning. So when we restore it from the beginning, we should only see the 3 values that we've added here, excluding this one that we've just added. So now we're going to back this up. Let's change this to 4. And we're going to execute this. So let's just run this one more time. We can see trackers is added here. So we want to restore this, but then only having the first 3 values that we've entered. So it's now restored. So now let's run the table again. And now we can see that it only reflects Jaguars. So now it reflects Jaguars because I've selected this one here. And this was because of the first value I've entered. So I've backed up this transaction log. So it should only show this one instead of these 3. But if I include this time here, if I back it up from here, so then it should include 1, 2, and not this one here. So let's try that as well. So we're just changing the times here to 1948 and 45. So now when we back this up, it should only give us these values as well as these values. So let's run it. So let's run this table again. And as we can see, it only includes the first 2, like I've mentioned. So now we want to create a new query and work on the second show, which is to also tell what recovery mode we'll be using for this scenario. So the description goes as follows. The CIO of Wide World Importers is concerned about data loss. The company is growing fast and has extra budget to spare to cover needs. He says that he can't afford to lose sleep worrying about whether the company's IT needs are keeping up with the growth. He asks you to do whatever it takes to come up with the most complete and constant coverage possible. So in this case, I will be using the same backup recovery mode, which is a full backup recovery mode. Reason for this, because it also includes the transaction log. And with the transaction log, we do want to set up recovery modes in between rather than on a specific day or a specific time. We will have a full backup mode running. It will be a full recovery mode midnight, and then we'll have every 3 hours we'll have a transaction log to recover those in between. So in this case, we want to get started with that, and we want to select the Wide World Importers, and let's start that by using this one. Let's run this. Then we want to back up this first, back up the database to a full backup. So we're starting off with the full backup, and then we will be moving on to the transaction logs, as in the previous scenario. So as we can see that it has been backed up. So what we want to do is I just want to select one of the tables we have here, and we want to see what we can work with there. I'm just looking for a table that we can work with. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing here, and we will be inserting some values into the table. And we'll put 9.